So summary, good news is I'm almost done. Oh, okay. As a reward for staying awake, for any of you, because you're here at Metro Institute, take $25 off your first order on our website, Qspray.com. Just use that code METRO25. We have a huge inventory of parts and equipment. I can give this to you after the class if you need it, but $25 off your first order. I think it's off a $50 order. You can do in-store pickup, so there's no freight. Okay, summary. Safety for the technician. For those of you who are technicians, here's what I want you to do. Number one, we talked about this. Inspect your equipment at the start of the day. If there's a leak, deal with it. If it's, make sure it's secure. That's just such an easy one to do. It takes no time, okay? Don't rush, don't cut corners, and don't walk backwards. It's a lot more costly to the company if you have an accident than it is if you trying to rush and do a not as good a job. Steal ideas from meetings like this. Talk to your colleagues. Go out and look at the trucks in the parking lot. You don't have to invent every idea yourself. You just have to keep getting better. This is a key one, and I hope all the technicians in the room will take this one to heart, is don't live with problems. If you got chemicals spilling somewhere, please tell your boss. If you see a risk, tell your boss. If you're hurting yourself, use your equipment, tell your boss, okay? Don't live with it. And lastly, know the job site, okay? So, for the company, some safety issues on equipment. Number one, we talked about, you can design safety in up front with putting it in the right place, or putting the right valves, or putting the hoses in the right place. That's using the right fittings, using metal fittings instead of plastic. You got to fix your serious problems right away. Check your equipment security. If you got a power sprayer in your truck or a toolbox or something like that, my suggestion would be, once a year when you take the vehicle to get inspected, or quarterly when you have the oil changed, have someone get under there and just make sure it's attached. Continuously improve. The same thing I mentioned with the text. Just keep getting your stuff better. Steal ideas. Okay, policies and procedures. This is one, it's so easy, and we just don't see a lot of people doing it. Create a safety culture. A lot of organizations have a meeting every month where you talk about how to sell more of this kind of work or that kind of work. Okay, or we talk about something that came down from headquarters. But very few companies talk about safety. And I think it would be so easy once a month when you're having your meeting. Does anyone have any safety issues? Anything anyone want to talk about? Here's a safety issue. I went to a meeting and this guy said we should check our equipment before we drive off. It's so easy, okay? So if you're the boss, you got to encourage your techs to report problems. I've beat that one to death. Have regular safety meetings. Here's a key one too. Just because you're the boss doesn't mean you know everything, okay? And if you ask your technicians for their ideas, you'll get great ideas, okay? And I don't know why you wouldn't do that. All right, so ask them their opinions. They're the ones using this stuff every day. Preventative maintenance will reduce safety problems. If you're doing preventative maintenance and you're looking at your equipment, you can prevent chemical spills, you can prevent chemical exposure, you can prevent stuff from coming loose and going flying around all over the place. Retrain employees on proper equipment operation. So I know you trained your employees on day one, but that doesn't mean that they're still doing what you want them to do 5 years later. So you got to reinforce those procedures with them. I mean, remember that picture of the guy who was cranking the hose and it was dragging on the cover, and he was trashing the hose and trashing the cover? I mean, I'm sure that guy got trained day one. Just because you told someone something, just because I told my 5-year-old kid, 6 months ago not to touch something doesn't mean he or she is still not touching it, okay? You got to retrain your employees. Managers should perform equipment inspections, and, I really think once a year, once a quarter, once something, ride along with your employees to see what it's like using that equipment. Walk in their moccasins and get a feel for what that's like, and you can really find some great ways to improve your equipment. Okay, that was my presentation. I just wanted to share one more thing before I open it up to questions. Our experience in doing this for 15 or 20 years is at least half of all equipment problems are completely avoidable, and we've made a list of those. You mentioned you had it. We made a list of those, and if you go to www.pesttop10.com, you can get a copy of it downloaded for free. And I promise you 50% of your equipment problems, if you do this, will go away.